Hey folks, Steve Bird here with Chris Weatherman, also known as Angery American. So I've been really looking forward to this. I haven't seen him in a while. We've probably known each other in real life for, well, I guess it feels like 4 or 5 years now. I don't know the exact date, but
at least, yeah.
Yeah, we usually see each other a couple times a year, but this last year, it's been a lot going on for both of us, to say the least. So good to have this little online reunion here. So anyway, welcome, Chris.
How's it going, brother? You enjoying the farmer life up there in Tennessee?
Hell yeah, I love hiding out in the middle of nowhere, especially with what's going on right now.
Me too. I was talking to Alan Kay earlier, and we were joking. We were social distancing before it was cool. We just called it reaction gap.
Yeah.
Keep them bastards at arm's length so I can punch them in the nose before they get to me if I have to.
I pretty much already only leave my property for essential services.
Yeah, me too. When they were saying stay at home, don't go out, all this stuff, and I was like, well, I pretty much stay at home anyway. I don't really go anywhere unless I need to, and if I need to go to any of those places, I'm going anyway, and I don't give a shit what they have to say about it. So. Yeah.
The only thing we're missing out on is we usually go to church. We usually, my daughters go to ballet once a week, They've not been able to do that. And we already homeschooled, so,
Yeah.
Other than them not going to ballet and not going to church on Sunday, their lives is exactly the same. We're not all upside down like most.
It didn't affect us none because, I work from home anyway. Mel's always home, and so, the only thing it cost me was my MacBook. A little bit took over my MacBook, which I hate that piece of garbage. So I didn't complain too loud. I'm not an Apple fan for all you.
Me neither.
Communist Apple cultists out there.
That's exactly what I say. Apple's a cult. It
is a cult, man.
Straight up a cult.
They are a cult, and dare ye that questions the deity.
Hey, I've got an iPad right here, but it's a company iPad, and it's got free, cellular on it, so I'm glad to use it.
Company iPad. I'm not going to buy one, but if you give me one. I don't own, I do have a MacBook, and the only reason I even bought the MacBook originally was I was thinking of uploading some of my books to iBooks or whatever. Then I realized what an asinine pain in the ass that was, and just said, screw it. And so the MacBook just laid around, and finally Logan laid claim to it, and now it's hers. But I won't have an iPhone. I won't have an iPad. I won't have a MacBook. I'm not having none of that garbage.
No. So, to me, an Apple product's a gateway to your checking account. Nothing else. They're just too locked down, and you can't do nothing if Apple's not getting money from you.
No. Yeah, and they'll shut you down in a heartbeat. Oh, new phone's out, so we're going to make the rest of y'all stop working. Guess what? You're going to buy one.
Can you imagine all the negative comments that are kind of building below this?
Oh, I know. When they see this, they're going to be, what? Are you questioning Apple? Yes, I'm saying that it's a cult, and they're garbage, and I'll never own one. So, but I'm not saying Android is perfect, nor Microsoft. I think Bill Gates is one of the most evil humans on the face of the earth. But I'm running his equipment, so
I'm on a Windows computer.
So hey, man. I'm wanting. There's a company out there that makes one that I want to get that runs cubes, and I'm gonna get one of those, as well as a new phone that's on the hit in the market that doesn't run Android, doesn't run the Mac iOS, Apple iOS, whatever that garbage is on their phones, and they're containerized is what they call it. So no apps can see each other. Nothing can see the internet unless you tell it to. There's all kinds of stuff. It's built for high security and low snooping, and so that's going to be my go-to stuff here pretty quick.
It's funny. Our little tech rant that we're doing here is kind of indicative of all of the problems we're facing right now, because Google makes the Android software, and Google lately has kind of turned into this big evil political operation, and all of these big tech companies, the Facebook, the Google Hangouts that we're using right now to pull your video in, all of those, Facebook or Twitter, Doesn't matter who it is. All the big tech companies, they seem all on board. They're all a part of kind of the same big machine. So no matter what device you're using, you're giving them you're giving every one of these apps, permissions to access your phone. And it's like your damn note program. Why do you need my contacts list? Why do you need my camera?
Yeah.
Why do you need
some of the stuff that it asks, not even the notes. I was putting something, I had to download something on my phone the other day to use for some reason or other, and I actually read the permissions and was stunned. Like, it wanted to know all of my purchases.
Yeah. I
was like, what the hell do you need to know? Oh, because you're going to try to sell that data. That's why. But it's the national security facial recognition platform now lives on Amazon servers. Think about that. So I forget who runs that, what it's called. It's a Department of Homeland Security division where they keep all their biometric files on Americans and foreigners. And it's now all hosted on Amazon servers. That's who's doing that part. So that's why I refer to, you've seen the reference to .gov, right? We all know what that means. So now I've started talking about .gig. And that's the social media platforms and the big multinationals like Amazon and that sort of thing, who, our government looks at us as children that need to be managed, and Amazon and those others look at us as revenue sources that need to be managed. That's as far as it goes in their books.
And, of course, a business that's friendly with government is a business that's going to thrive. A business that's hostile to government is a business that's not going to thrive. So if they share our information with the powers that be, when the powers that be need them, they're providing a valuable service, and they get, to
preferential treatment. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's why our tax code is a weapon. When you
it is.
When you can
Good Lord, is it?
Carve special people out and punish others, and reward certain industries. It's an absolute political weapon. No other way to look at it.
That's it. And they've weaponized everything. There's nothing that isn't weaponized now. And even your life. I go on this little rant I like to tell people, and it's like the best years of your life are from the day you're born till the day you either graduate high school or college. So if you go to college, you get an extra 4, 8, 12, 16 years, depending on some of these people who consider themselves perpetual students, I reckon, before you get to start adulting, where then you're expected to get a job and pay taxes, buy a house and pay a mortgage and taxes, get a car loan and pay, a car loan and taxes, use credit cards and pay those bills and taxes, and you will work someplace with people you have very little in common with, for people who really don't give a shit about you, and you'll live for 2 days a week and 2 weeks a year, and you do that for 20, 30, 40 years of your life, and that's your life. That's your whole purpose to be here, is to make money and then to hand that money to other people. That's it.
Hoping that someday you could possibly maybe retire if the government doesn't stage a crisis that destroys the stock market and eats away everything you had in the 401k and has your job lays you off 10 years before you retire. And,
shit, 10 years, hell, they'll do it damn 10 weeks before you retire these days. It's, and the stock market, anybody who's in that casino today, it, to me, is mind-boggling. I used to be a day trader. I traded stocks for a living, and I have zero exposure to the stock market. None. If I want to gamble, I'll go to Vegas. Yeah. I'll do it for a weekend, and I'll come home. So,
at least the casino's honest in that they're screwing you over.
Yeah, at least when I walk in there, everybody's straight up. We're going to take your money. Whereas the stock market, you got to go through people. Oh no, I'll make you money, or no, this is a great trade. All of those emails, all the smartest people in the country are buying this stock. Well, then it's all the more reason for me not to buy it. If everybody else is already in, it's too late to get in on it. So
right.
You got
to get the ones people think are totally worthless, and then Amazon when they first come out. And I lived in Seattle Seattle area, around the north edge of Seattle, and kind of South Seattle for like 13 years, and So, Amazon was always in the front page of everything and on the news because it was just local, basically a local company kind of thing. And they were unprofitable, and people would trash them all the time. There was all the time on the news, Amazon still hasn't turned a profit, and all the naysayers, So at that time, I'm sure that stock was nothing, and now they control their Skynet. They control the freaking
back
world.
When I traded stocks, I remember how volatile that stock was. I mean, it would make 30, 40-point swings in a day, And for those who understand it, when you say a point on 1,000 shares, that's $30-40. Each point's $1. But that was back in the crazy days when like day trading was a thing, like a big thing. And I looked to grab like a quarter to half a point. If I bought something like, and dating myself here, like Netscape or WorldComs or Com or Sun Systems or Cisco, I would buy that stuff, and if it moved a half point in my favor, I sold it. I made $500. Right. It usually happened in about 45 seconds. I never held any positions overnight. I closed everything before I left home or left to go home because I worked out of an office for myself. It was my money, but I rented a chair because they had really high end stuff, and it was awesome. And so I understand the markets, and hence not about to be involved in them.
Yeah. So with all the madness we're surrounded by, the specific madness that's driving everybody nuts right now is what I call the Wuhan COVID Rona election year apocalypse of 2020. What's going on down in your world? And I know your purview is a little bit beyond just your small town or the town that you live in. So what are you seeing around you and around the world with all this crap?
Mass. It's like Jonestown to me. That's what we're seeing around the world. If you step back and look at the big picture, it's all like Jonestown. Everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid. Oh, yeah. Even here in my little rural county, which the last time I had looked, I think we'd had 6 deaths total in my county, and we'd had 150 some cases. I think that was the numbers.
3 of those were probably car wrecks.
Yeah, probably. But even here, on the grocery store floor, they had arrows, to guide you through the store in a certain pattern.
I go the wrong way on purpose.
I'd say I looked at them as I walked over them the wrong way, and people gave me ugly looks, and because I wasn't wearing a mask, and I had a lady tell me, you should be wearing a mask. I'm like, why? You are. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about me. Let me do me. You do you. And it's like I was saying before, everybody's making their play. Everybody from any governmental, global, whatever syndicate you want to think of, all the way down to your HOA is making their play for power. We have mayors, governors, city councils passing ordinances, or not even passing ordinances, and acting new rules and ordinances and stuff that they simply do not possess the right to do, yet nobody's questioning it, and everybody follows it.
Right. And some stuff they may have had the legal right to do, but in this case, they would have never had the public support to do it without a crisis flag to wave.
True, but they're also abusing it. Like Illinois is a prime example. Illinois governor has the authority to issue emergency proclamations that last for 30 days. It does not say that he can continue to renew that in perpetuity, which is what he's doing. And now there's actually a suit against him, and they're going to be sued over it. Just like here in Florida, had I not been busy, when they first opened the beaches in Florida, they said, you can go to the beach, but you can't sit in a chair and you can't sit on a towel. You can't sit down.
You can't sit on a towel.
If I'd have had more time, I would have went straight to the beach with my chair, and I'd have stuck it in the sand and sat down. And when they came up to me, I had 2 different directions I was going to go. One was I was going to be like, write your ticket and I'll see you in court, because I've got a lawyer that's begging somebody to bring a case like this so we can show them the error of their ways. And the other tack I had made in my mind was I was going to look at him and say, I have a medical condition where I'm forced to sit down. And under ADA laws, I don't have to tell you what that is. So fuck off. Pardon the expression. But and that's the thing is, so many people in this country are afraid of responsibility. Liberty comes with responsibilities. People are terrified of responsibility or consequences. So like when this happened, everybody looked around. Something happened, and somebody must do something. And so they're waiting to be told what to do. And government, good Lord, we all know they're always looking for an opportunity to tell us what to do. So they just stepped right in and said, "Sure thing," and started tossing around asinine orders, like the 6-foot social distancing thing. And I love the way that everybody parrots the phrases. All I get is a catchy phrase. Yeah.
Every time I hear a buzzword.
Social distance. I call it's all virtue signaling to me.
Oh yeah.
Like the cop I saw today wearing a mask with his nose sticking out of it, and he was walking out of a store and I was walking into it and I said, that's about as effective as walking around with your pecker hanging out of the top of your pants. And I just walked right into the store. I was like, you're doing that just to show. It's for show. It's not to keep you from getting sick or to keep you from making somebody else sick. If your nose is sticking out of the top of the damn thing, it's not working. Which they don't work anyway unless you have the properly rated masks.
And they don't. Speaking of that, they don't care what material the mask is made of. It's not. It doesn't have to be an N95 mask. Doesn't have to be a surgical quality of any kind. It can just be some random piece of cloth that's very porous and lets everything go through it. But as long as it's on your face, signaling, "Hey, I'm on board," it's totally cool because that's what really seems to matter. Are you following your orders? Are you following your orders like a good little peasant? Or are you rebelling?
No, I don't follow the orders, and I argue with people all the time, And so, a virus is 0.01 microns. A dust mask you buy at Home Depot filters down to 5 microns. See, I'm not a physicist or nothing or a mathematician, but I think 0.01 is a hell of a lot smaller than 5. So. And even, all these people, we're making masks for the hospitals. They're useless. They're useless. They don't stop anything. And I was talking to a guy one time about his paper mask. He's like, well, it's better than nothing. And I'm like, no, because actually when it gets wet, you have a higher chance of actually transmitting the virus through the wet mask. He's like, well, my mask isn't going to get wet. I'm like, sure it is. When you breathe, it'll get wet. I said, you exhale moisture. He's like, no, I don't. And I had to just blink. And I'm like, are you really that stupid? I said, you ever fogged up a mirror with your breath? He went, yeah. I said, that's moisture. And he's like, no, it's not. And I was like, okay, I can't argue with
I'm
this
done.
level of, there's,
Remember the stand-up comic that said he wished stupid people wore a sign so you'd know not to waste your time.
Oh yeah,
there are signs everywhere right now. All you need to just look around. And
and that's the great thing. You can see them now. The one that cracked me up the most was last week. I was driving someplace. I remember where I was going, and I looked over and there's a guy in the lane beside me. He's in a convertible, this top down. He's got rubber gloves on and his mask. In his convertible with the top down. Who are you around that you're worried about in your car to start with? And if you're worried, why don't you put the top up, turn the AC on?
Right.
My wife's over at the beach with her friend for her birthday right now, and she said there's people walking out of the beach with masks on.
Yeah, I was in Hilton Head a couple of weeks ago for work. I had to stay there for about 7 days, and you'd see people out jogging with a mask on by themselves, not within 100 yards of another human being. And it's just like, what the hell are you doing other than, stinking up that mask? What are you accomplishing? Are you trying to keep from catching it from yourself?
Well, they were told to wear masks, and until they're told otherwise, that's what they're going to do.
That's it.
I have the argument all the time with people. I said, this country is founded on the basis of individual liberty of the individual, the freedom of the individual, not for the good of the whole, or if it'll only save one child, or none of that crap. But we're seeing actual courts now pass decisions saying that people will have to learn to surrender some of their civil liberties. I can't remember. They don't say for the betterment of the whole. They use a different way of trying to say it. Makes it sound better, more friendly. But that's what it is. And when we start talking collectives, essentially what they're talking about. Well, now we're moving into socialism, Marxism, communism. So, and I'm not a fan of any of those.
When the founders were first kind kind of trying to put together the Constitution. You ever read the book 5,000 Year Leap?
No, I haven't read that one.
I highly recommend that book for everybody. It's an older book. It's probably 30, 40 years old, by Klaus Skelton, I believe was his name.
Okay.
So it's not a modern day political book, but it's about the founding, and it's deep about the founding. Like, what did they just get? Has their letters back and forth to each other. So the author's basically just a narrator pointing out, okay, and then here's where, Madison's, asks this question to Washington, and, he kind of sets it all up. So you can see what they're really discussing. People try to, well, they didn't mean that. Well, no, they actually told you what they meant if you look. And one of the things they discussed all the time, kind of like what you just said, was the big difference between the rights of man versus the rights of men. The rights of men being the collective, what's good for the collective, versus the rights of man being what's good for that individual. And so that kind of goes back to that a democracy is, two wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for dinner.
Exactly.
That's the good of the collective is that the wolves get to eat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The 5,000 Year Leap, is that what you said it was?
Yeah, it's good.
I'm looking it up. See, Audible doesn't have it? Wow.
No, you got it's so old, the audiobook is on a CD.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, the only reason I do Audible is because I don't have time to read. But yeah, it's... See, I've been going through a lot of the original texts from the founding of the country. Like, I just went through the entire Federalist Papers.
He quotes all kinds of that Federalist Paper stuff in there, too.
Oh, yeah. And it's brilliant, too. And what we also learned there is how much those men despised one another. Jefferson and Hamilton hated each other. Adams hated Hamilton. A lot of people hated Hamilton, actually. George Washington loved him. But you can see where their arguments, and if you overlay them against today, then you see the ones that were really, in my opinion, had it right. Like Hamilton, in my opinion, had it wrong. He would have loved this government. He was a Federalist. He wanted a big government, standing army, all that stuff, everything that Jefferson and the Jeffersonians were afraid of at the time. And now we have this all-powerful, almighty, benevolent. It's kind of like George Carlin's take on God. He's always watching you. And if you do something wrong, he'll punish you, but he loves you. And that's kind of where we're getting. AI stuff, the surveillance state. There's hardly anywhere you can go anymore. Cameras on the roadways. They monitor all our phones.
Yeah, every app on your phone wants microphone permissions, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
I was driving to the store yesterday, and the radio was talking. I had talk radio on, and the radio was talking. I wasn't even saying anything, and my phone out of the blue says, "I'm sorry, I couldn't understand that." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Just like it was listening to the radio, and it.
You got an iPhone, don't you?
No, it's an Android. I can't.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not named Siri. I can't. Bixby. I think your name's Bixby.
I don't let that shit. I didn't even turn that on my phone. I blocked it.
I had it turned off. I probably got an update. When you get an update and they change all your settings and permissions to back to where they were.
Yeah, I love how they do that. They won't let you not take the update either.
Right.
They'll let you avoid it for a little while, but eventually, like, no, citizen, you will comply. And that's kind of where we're at, which just drives me insane. We do not have freedom. Me and Alan Kay, we have the survival. We're calling it a manual, but it's not really a manual. More like a blueprint more than anything else for survival. And in it, we say that we are nothing more than free-range citizens on a government tax farm. They give you the illusion of freedom, but no real freedom.
Right.
If you think you're free, stop paying your property taxes, stop registering your car, don't get your driver's license, don't pay for a concealed weapons permit to exercise your rights.
Well, you don't need a driver's license to vote, though.
No, you don't for that. Which is, why would you?
Right. Not important.
But boy, you need an ID or a license to do everything else in this country. But if you don't have a license, then you can vote and you can get free health care. And college tuition and all kinds of stuff, which I can't get none of that. So, I could vote, but at this point, I've decided that's an utter and absolute waste of time.
Especially if we go to the Democrats' dream of all mail-in ballots with same-day no ID registration. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I joked when Pelosi first floated that idea, I'm like, well, it looks like Abraham Lincoln will be voting in this one. I mean, because it'll be absurd. And your great state, somebody sent me a thing from Tennessee where they said that you could go ahead and request your absentee ballot, so you didn't have to vote in person.
But Tennessee has very strict requirements for that. You have to have a medical condition that prevents you from traveling. You have to be on jury duty. There's a specific list. It's not just, hey, I don't feel like going to the polls today. We have for those people, like if I said, well, I'll be out of town for work that day. Well, they fixed that with a really huge range of early voting, so you can go vote, 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time, if not a month ahead of time. So that takes care of those excuses. But the actual absentee ballot, there is a very specific list of people, deployed military, jury duty, like I said, confirmed medical conditions that prevent you from traveling. So they're pretty legit about it. And Tennessee's pretty hardcore. When you move to Tennessee and you come to get a driver's license, you got to bring like birth certificates and passports and stuff. It's not just a copy of your electric bill.
But you guys are you're facing some pretty ugly looking elections come in November too. You got some left of center individuals.
Well, we have Nashville and Memphis, so there's no Tennesseans in Nashville.
No, there's not. No.
Yeah, that's New York and California Central. All the people that could.
I was going to say that was Californians. They got tired of paying their state taxes and moved to somewhere else so they could screw it up just as bad.
Well, that and they couldn't make it in the entertainment industry out there, so they head to Nashville. Same thing with New York and Nashville. So it always, the wind always blows differently there. But but once you get outside of that, like if you looked at the Trump election, if you looked at the county map, there were only two counties in the entire state that went for Hillary, and those were the county that covers Memphis and the county that covers Nashville. Nothing else. Even Knoxville, which generally speaking you'd think as most cities being a Democrat, it even went for Trump. And when you looked at, it wasn't Trump beat her by 50 votes. It was 94% of the people in that county voted for Trump, and the others were a few fraudulent votes for Hillary. Yeah,
a few fraudulent votes for Hillary.
So you take Nashville and Memphis out of the equation because they're a different world. But sadly, someday they may have the populations like Chicago has for Illinois and New York City has for New York, and where those in Seattle, Pierce County and King County in Washington State, how those tiny little population centers dominate the rest of the state, even though the rest of the state is nothing like them.
Yep, and it's it's not how things are supposed to be designed to work. It's that's what everybody bitches about our democracy this and our democracy that. We don't have a democracy, folks. We have a republic. It's a big damn difference.
Right.
And the biggest problem that our country has when it comes to our republic is career politicians. And one of my fond little sayings is that the term career politician should be as offensive to us as the term pedophile. I mean, it should be that offensive.
They kind of did have their own pedophile ring recently that kind of got swept under the murder rug.
Well, I mean, hey, just because that dude suicided himself in that cell under 24-hour watch and the camera for some reason didn't work for a few minutes.
Both cameras. Both cameras stopped for some reason not working.
Tell you what, I've worked in a lot of jails. It's But hey, he's dead, so we quit talking about him, right? That's what's supposed to have happened. You're supposed to stop talking about that guy. So,
right. He's problem solved.
That's the way this works. Yep.
Oh man.
Yep.
It is madness, and I think that's one of the reasons. Like with post-apocalyptic books, people, whether it's an EMP book, whether it's a zombie book, whether it's a giant meteor. I think sometimes people look at the genre as a breath of fresh air. Even though it's a hellish situation that those people are going through, when that giant meteor slams into the earth and takes out most of society, it takes away all of that crap. It takes the government away. It takes all your homeowners association. All of a sudden, doesn't matter.
Yep.
It
levels the playing field.
Yeah, exactly.
It levels the playing field.
It's you, your friends, or your allies, and then other folks. But there's not 2 million people voting to take something away from you. They're going to have to come get it.
Yeah.
I think in that is, even though it's hellish, it's a refreshing thought, and that's kind of sad, really.
Well, it lays bare human nature, which is what we kind of do in our books. You hear the phrase, all people are inherently good. I don't believe that. My belief is this: all people are inherently base animals, and they will get closer to that base depending on their level of comfort at the time. So, while we have bread and circuses right now, everybody's pretty comfortable. They're all pretty damn polite, get along fine. You let their kids start getting hungry.
Oh, yeah.
Or cold or shoeless or whatever the case may be, and you'll start to see that base animal. And people always give me a lot of grief over that. And I like to cheer them up because I followed up with this one. I said, well, look at it this way. I said, life is a sexually transmitted disease with a 100% fatality rate. There you go.
Mr. Positive.
I told that to a guy I worked for one time.
American, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not the happy American. I'm not Mr. Uplifting American.
The Jolly Floridian.
Yeah. I told that to a guy I worked for one time, and he just stood there with his mouth hanging open, his eyes kind of bugged out. He's like, that is the most screwed up thing I think I've ever heard. And I was like, am I wrong? And he was like, well, no. I'm like, then what's your problem? Facts. People hate facts. They don't like facts. So.
No. Well, facts are getting away. They're not convenient.
Yeah, they hurt my feels, because that's what really matters.
Yeah. Yes, your feelings are not in my control.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt your feelings on purpose, but you know what? If you're going to walk around with letting your feelings be this big barrier to life, and then you want to extend that barrier into other people's lives, there's a problem.
Well, see, all this gender identity, gender fluidity, race, everything, any of these classes, divisions, categories people want to put themselves into and claim and whatnot and what have you. And I don't give a shit what someone wants to call themselves. I mean, you can call yourself a purple unicorn. I don't care. Be a whatever. But how much of my participation is compulsory in your delusions or ideals or self-image? I mean, how much of that do I have to participate in?
Right.
I mean, you're free to call yourself whatever you want. Therefore, I should be free to not engage in your fantasy or whatever, if you want to call yourself a him or a her, whatever the case may be, it shouldn't be a problem for me to use the opposite pronoun. Because now what we're doing is animal farm. Some animals are more equal than others. I've decided I'm a woman, and you have to call me. No, I don't. You're a dude. In a really bad dress, too, by the way. And those heels look like they hurt. But there's places where doing that can get you a fine.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't get you a fine, you've got all the social shaming and stuff these days, and the phobe. Whatever. If I created some special class for myself that a certain political party decided to support, you would all of a sudden be some phobe. There would be a new word. You're a Steve-ophobe if you're not on board with whatever freaky stuff Steve's doing. So you're the one that wears the label. You're the one that gets destroyed publicly just because you're not all on board with what I say my normality should be. Yeah.
Someone will come with a hashtag real quick. They'll get it trending on Twitter. Next thing you know, everybody's a Martian because they don't like Steve's plaid shirt and cowboy hat.
And the funny thing is, they always want to try to make it out between the chauvinism and racism and all these kind of things are the real problem. But in reality, and I'm sure you feel like just like I do, I don't care what other people do. I don't want you to, like you said, make my participation in whatever it is compulsory. But I would rather have, I have just a few neighbors because everybody here is on a farm, so there's just the neighbors are widespread. But I would rather have all the way around me. I would rather have a transsexual or transgendered gay Muslim woman on one side and two dudes on the other that just got back from their wedding honeymoon, and then whatever else you want to put behind me that's doesn't fit in the box that they want to put me in, as long as those people respect my freedoms, my rights, and my opinions. And they don't try to tell me what I could do with my property. They don't try to tell me I can't shoot guns here, that I can't. I would rather have those people around me with lifestyles totally different than mine, as long as they respect my rights and I respect theirs, than to have someone that looks just like me, talks like me, and is from the same place as I am that wants to shut down my shooting range. That wants to get into my business and control my life. It isn't about, hey, you're a white male, we're on the same team. No, that's insane. No. And they keep trying to push that off on us, but it couldn't be further from the truth. I respect people who respect me. I don't care what you do.
Yeah, I don't give a shit what people want to believe. Your rights stop at my nose. You've heard that saying before. Yeah. So in other words, you can pretty much say anything you want, right up to the minute you try to take a swing at me. Once you try to compel your ideals onto me, that's where the problem exists. And I don't truck that too much. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to sit down and shut up to that one. And I support. If you want to be lesbians or gay, get married, people shouldn't even be mad about that. What they should be mad about is the fact you got to go to the damn state and get a permission slip to even get married. That's what you should be mad about, folks.
That is I say that all the time. Because when the gay marriage thing argument was going on, I was flying for the airlines then, so as always with different flight attendants and pilots and stuff, people from different places. There's always people with different perspectives. You could have a country boy like me, then you could have somebody from New York City in the same crew flying the same trip for a week. And people would get into the argument, it needs to be legal. Look, and I would point that out, and I'd say, but you're straight, right? Yeah. And you're married, right? Yeah. What's the first thing you had to do to get married? Well, I had to go get a license. So you had to go pay a bureaucrat money for permission to be in a personal relationship.
Yep.
And that usually, as soon as you frame it that way, they're usually like, wait a minute. So yeah. And then they'll go, well, they only want to be married because the taxation's different for single versus married, and this and the rights and the property rights and all that. I'm like, again, why is the government treating people differently based on a private relationship status? If the government wasn't treating people differently, those people wouldn't be seeking a right that they're being denied. So if the government wasn't in the marriage business in the first place, and if the government wasn't defining people and put them in categories in the first place and building their tax code as a weapon, like we mentioned earlier, we wouldn't be having this argument. Yeah,
and the government shouldn't have its fingers in all those things that benefit the normal idea of marriage, as far as being able to claim as dependents and get them on your health insurance and do all this other stuff. Those aren't rules that the government shouldn't be making to begin with. Those, income tax, regardless of where you stand on all that other shit, is theft anyway. If a government can tax, think of this, they can tax your physical labor, the energy that your body creates to do your job. That's your physical, that's your essence, of being alive. You have to pay a tax on that.
Yep.
What more needs to be said?
Right.
And the government shouldn't have its fingers in all those things that everybody complains about. But see, the problem, the other side of that coin is that some of those groups, when they say they want equal, this and that, and they want to be equal, equality, and da-da-da-da, they don't want equality.
I think that's
when they say that they want special.
I think a lot of that's politically driven, though. If these people weren't being used as voter blocks, and if they didn't have somebody injecting anger and rage and hatred, they have to tell those groups, those are your enemies, and here's why, and here's what we're going to do about it. Those people wouldn't be trying to shove their life in your face, like the restroom thing. The 45-year-old man wanting to follow a 7-year-old girl into the bathroom and saying you're the problem if you don't like it. That only became a thing when that certain political organization decided to make it a thing. Freaks have been around forever, but freaks never expected to be able to follow your daughter into the bathroom until politicians decided they should be able to follow your daughter into the bathroom, and then all of a sudden it was a civil right. Why wasn't it before?
Well, a civil right. Here's another one. You thought my view on life was screwed up. My view on rights is even, to most people, even more screwed up. So, our Constitution recognizes certain rights, and these are rights that exist simply because I exist. I have these rights simply because I'm here. They're mine. Nobody gave them to me.
Natural law.
Natural law. I was born and I exist. Therefore, these rights, and even calling them rights isn't the correct term in my opinion. But because it's anything someone else has to do for you, for example, bake a wedding cake. That is not a right. That is not your right to tell somebody else that they must, again, this goes back into how much of my participation is compulsory in your self-image or delusions or whatever the hell you want to call it. I should be able to tell you no. That should be my right. What? Because now, again, we're back to special class. And I'm not just picking on gays here because I'm not. I mean,
that's just a political weapon. Yeah, that's just the reason to bring it up.
It's just, well, it's an example. Because Mel's got some gay friends that come up here all the time. One of them, these two guys standing side by side, one of them, oh, he's gay. You look at him, you know it. There's no mystery. The other guy, you're like, really? But the gay, the uber gay one, fine. I'm like, dude, I get it. You're gay. I don't give a shit. Shut up. Stop talking about it. I don't sit around and talk about my sex life in front of you. I don't want to hear about yours. You're gay. So what? I don't care. Talk about something else, But it's that we want equal, but no, we want special. And, we're queer, we're here, in your face, the whole thing. And again, not picking on gay because I fully support gay people. I don't care. Love who you want to love, marry who you want to marry. I do not give a shit.
But stop
and I'll support your right. And I'll support your right to do it. And I'll support your right to get trained to use firearms. And hell, I'll teach you how to do it as well.
I'll support your right to do anything as long as you're not taking away the rights of others. As long as you're not infringing upon the others. I don't care what you do, and
exactly.
I'll support whatever it is that you want to do. It doesn't matter if your beliefs line up with mine, your morals, your values. It doesn't matter. As long as you're not infringing on someone else's rights, you have the right to do whatever it is.
Which then you get into newspeak, for Christ's sake, they're rewriting the dictionaries like every day, it seems like. And there's words that can't be said or can't be. You can't use this. You can't say that. You can't do this.
Control the language. You control the mind.
Yeah. And it goes, again, back to that compulsory participation. Now you can't say this. Well, why can't I say that? Well, those people don't like it and they find it offensive. You show me anywhere in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, anywhere like that says you have the right to not be offended.
Yeah.
I'm offended every time I got to write the IRS a check.
You also don't have the right
to do it.
You don't have the right to be happy. You have the right to pursue happiness and try to find it for yourself. You don't. The government doesn't owe you happiness. Your neighbors don't owe you happiness.
No.
You could totally fail at everything in life and be miserable, and that's nobody's fault. It may not even be your fault. You may be, a victim of circumstances, but nothing is guaranteed other than your liberty, your individual liberty to have the opportunity to pursue happiness.
Correct. You're not owed it. No one has to give it to you. It's up to you to go out and achieve it. But see, they've flipped that around now.
Right.
So what they mean by that, you have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Now it gets convoluted to, well, I have the right to feel safe. No, you don't. You have the right to life. Yeah, but there's people out there that might hurt me. Well, but that's up to you to defend your life. Oh, I don't want to do that. That's that responsibility side of liberty we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Liberty comes with responsibility. Nobody wants the responsibility or the consequence. So it's like the anti-gun people. They're not anti-gun.
Well,
they just want some dude across town. They're very pro-gun. They just want a guy across town to carry their gun and hope he shows up when they call him.
And they want a guy carrying a gun to come to you to take your guns. And when you don't pay your taxes, they're going to send a guy with a gun. When you don't wear your mask these days, they're going to send a guy with a gun. He may not draw it on you at that time, but it's there just in case he needs it. And if you continue,
their entire modus operandi is the threat of force. That's it.
As Mao himself said that political power comes from the barrel of a gun, therefore the Communist Party should control all guns.
There you go.
That's where gun control comes from.
Hitler kind of didn't. He had a plan when he came into office, and what was the first thing he did? Took them from the Jews. I study history. Maybe some of you don't. I see a pattern here. That's just two examples.
Have you ever read the Nazi Party's official platform written by Goebbels?
Oh, yeah.
It sounds exactly like today's left, with the exception of the Nazis didn't chop up babies and sell their body parts.
Yeah.
The modern left does that. They didn't back then. Aside from that, if you read it word for word, it sounds almost exactly like the left today. And it makes sense, too, because all of Hitler's upper echelon were very senior doctorate level college professors.
Academics.
They were academics. They were professors. They had all the lofty titles. He had poets. He had anthropologists, had artists, had scientists, mathematicians. It didn't matter what it was. It was academia that fueled the Nazi Party, and these weren't people that were captured and brought in and forced to serve. They were like, oh yeah, here we go, here's our time. And
here's something I can get behind. Yeah.
And there's a book called Hitler's Professors. It was written right after World War II, so it's not like modern, revisionist history.
Right.
It was, right then when things were happening. And it details that. It details all of those lofty positions where those people come from. It wasn't a bunch of warmongers hardened from years and years of battle that just wanted to dominate the world. They were academia. And the academia that we see today spouting off the same hate, I mean, it's identical.
And it's humorous that they choose to then label their adversaries as Nazis when they're taking their cues and all their plays, some of them from the fascist playbook, lots of them from the Marxist playbook, and the socialist and communist. It cracks me up to see these little Fruit Loops that walk around wearing Che Guevara shirts.
And mass murdering communist.
Well, and massive homophobe. Like, he not even homophobe. He wasn't afraid of them. He hated them. He would throw them from roofs and shoot them on the spot and stuff.
He also hated blacks.
Like you see some gay pride parade, and there'll be some idiot wearing a Che shirt. And I'm just like, have you ever read up anything on that dude? Do you know what he stood for?
What was his nickname? Is the butcher of so I can't, one of them, or something like that. And he basically he ran prison camps, and that is where they put the gays, and it's where they put black people because he hated them too. And you see rappers wearing Che Guevara shirts. It's like, oh God, what's wrong with you people?
They don't they don't understand history, because to them he was just a revolutionary. Revolutionary. He was so revolutionary that even Castro wanted him dead.
My wife has a friend, and I've met him. I know him in person, but I consider him really more her friend because she's known him for a long time. She was a RN at an emergency room for 20-something years, and he was a Spanish interpreter. So when people would come in and couldn't speak English, he was there to communicate back and forth between the patients and the medical staff. Yep. And he was from Cuba. And he's in his probably late 50s, approaching maybe in his early 60s, and he escaped Cuba on a raft made out of car parts, that typical kind of scene you can picture in your head. And his father was personally killed by Che Guevara, and we had this big conversation. I'm like, man, it must just crush you to walk around seeing American youth wearing Che Guevara t-shirts. The guy that killed your dad is their hero, and everything he stood for was evil, just like everything Mao and Stalin and Hitler and all of those guys are evil. And in Seattle, you have a statue of Stalin in Seattle, but if it's Confederate war statue, it's got to get torn down.
Because that stands for hate. That's a symbol of hate. But that's also because most people do not understand what the Civil War was actually fought about. And everybody says, well, it's fought over slavery. No, that was actually added on at the very end, kind of as an FU by Lincoln. That's not what started it. And legally, under the Constitution of the United States, the Southern states had the right to do what they were doing. But Lincoln wanted to stop that, for better or for worse. Who knows? I'm not siding with either point there, other than looking at the facts. The facts were the states were fully within their rights to say they no longer wanted to be part of the Union, and in their right to leave it. And Lincoln fought a war to prevent that. Not saying we'd be better off or worse off, whichever way it went, but that's just a fact. And most people don't understand that. Even today, if a state wants to leave, it can leave. It just takes quite a bit of work to make that happen.
Yeah, the slavery was part of it in a sense of where, like some of the states some of the new states, for example, Missouri and places like that, who they wanted to enter the Union, and there was a debate as to whether they were going to be free or slave, and there was a lot of kind of BS that went into trying to terrorize them into going one direction or another.
Correct.
There's a big, long, drawn out story with all that. It's definitely not cut and dry.
No, and it's not cut and dry. I'm not trying to say it was, but I mean, even going all the way back to 1776, the southern states like Virginia, South Carolina, were at odds with the northern states. They called them, the Virginians, the South Carolinians. I mean, they referred to the New Englanders as Yankees. That's where the term came from. Right. And there was massive division there. They didn't get along. Even during the Revolutionary War, these people didn't get along. They had different ideals. Like Washington, he was a slave owner. Initially, he banned blacks from enlisting into the Continental Army. But when the recruitment wasn't high enough, and then they needed soldiers, he lifted that ban and allowed them. So they were a tool of the time for him. He only did it because he needed people to hold muskets. There
was debates when they were hammering out the Constitution as to whether it should or shouldn't be allowed, and because there was proponents and people who opposed it. But that point, if you read a lot of their historical writings to themselves, was essentially deferred because they had just won the war, and if the people that wanted to forbid it push the issue, the southern states wouldn't remain in the Union because it really wasn't a union at the time, right?
Not yet.
So
Not then.
They could have just said, all right, see ya, we're done with you guys, and the whole thing would have been at risk because if everything fell apart right after the British pulled away, they just turned around and come right back. So the people that were anti-slave kind of had to, all right, well, we'll deal with this later. And when people refer to the 3/5 of a person thing, that doesn't say that person's value was only 3/5 of a person. That was because the slave states wanted congressional representation in the House based on their total population, including their slaves, who they weren't going to allow to vote, but they still wanted congressional seats based on that count. So the 3/5 of a person was, all right, damn it, you can count 3 out of every 5. That's what it was. It wasn't the Constitution saying black people are only worth 3/5 of a human.
No, and the reason the southern states were doing that is because Boston, Philadelphia, New York had higher population densities,
right?
And so the South was trying to find a way to ensure they were properly represented, and you might say overly represented to a degree by using that rule. But and they kicked the can. I think initially it was 10 years. Like some of the states were like, all right, we're going to abolish slavery in 10 years. They're perpetually kicking the can down. No one ever wanted to make that decision.
Right. Well, it's just like modern politics. We keep kicking all kinds of cans down the road. And whoever finally stands up to do the right thing ends up being the villain. But history, we're sitting here rambling on and on about history, and the reason is we may be getting slightly sidetracked, but we're really not, because history tells us exactly what's happening today. History tells us what human nature is, because you were talking about how the founders, they weren't all brothers in arms, elbow and elbow, and here's what we want. Because that's not how the human population works. It doesn't work that way today, just like it doesn't work that way then. So the Constitution, the theory behind it at least, was to protect the minority from the majority. Now, slavery existed at the time, so one could argue that. But, and that's kind of the whole point. But today, we're completely upside down, and now the minority, the individual, which that's the minority now, is the individual. Individual liberty is the minority, is being dominated by the majority. And it's back to, like I said earlier, it's back to the two wolves in a sheep voting on what to have for lunch. And the individual. And you have a federal government. You have a federal government that exists to simply perpetuate its own existence. Government exists to perpetuate government. That's one of their number one protocols, is the continuity of government. And our rights, the fact that we possess rights, places a cap on their how much authority they can acquire. So our rights are the antithesis to government. They don't like that. Yep.
And so when you look around at all this stuff we were talking about earlier with this COVID thing, like all these edicts and decrees, because that's what these people are doing. They're ruling by edict and decree. they're looking to strip those. And as we well know, once taken, you never get them back.
Nope.
I don't care what anybody says.
Hey, all the stuff that happened after 9/11 and all the things that the government did, whether it's the NDAA or the Patriot Act or, starting Homeland Security, has any of that been retracted? No.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, TSA's, I mean, they've failed like every test that's ever been done as far as like sneaking bombs on the planes and shit. They've never caught one.
They've thought my flip-flop was a knife before, though. They tore my bag all to pieces. And here I am, a crew member, been screened as in-depth as you could be, standing there in uniform, them just digging all through my bags. And finally I'm like, what do you think you saw so I can try to help you find it? And he's like, pulls out one of my flip-flops, and he's talking to one of the guys, and I think this was it. They thought your flip-flop was a knife. I'm like, are you kidding me? And
the last time I traveled, they took a P38 can opener off my keychain. And I said, why? And they said, because it has a point. And I was like, what do you think I'm going to do with it? And they're like, you could use it for a weapon. And I'm like, hold that in your hand and explain to me how I would use that as a weapon. And then I reached into my shirt pocket and I pulled out my ink pen and I held it in a downward grip angle, with my thumb over the top of it. I said, this is a weapon.
Ooh, that's terroristic threatening. I'm surprised they didn't get you for terroristic threatening.
No, they didn't. I said, this is a weapon. I said, I could kill somebody with this. I said, that is not a weapon. And I put my pen back in my pocket, and they didn't say shit about it. But they didn't take it from me. But now I've learned how to deal with them. Those little comment cards. Fill those out, folks.
Yeah,
because
they'll go somewhere.
They do go somewhere. And the agent, his name, badge number, all the stuff, you get that put on the thing, they will be called onto the carpet to answer for that. Absolutely. I know that now because my daughter's dating a guy that works at TSA, and he told me, oh yeah, he's like, everybody hates those things because you will have to go answer to what you did on that card. So fill them out.
I'm glad somebody's doing something about the bad rap then.
Well, they drive me insane. They took my can opener. What was the other thing they tried to tell me I couldn't take on a plane? Oh, my stainless steel water bottle had about that much water in it one time. And I thought I drank it all, and I didn't. Had about a quarter inch of water at the bottom of it. It's like, you can't take this on a plane. Now, there's a huge garbage can right beside me. I went, I'll just pour it out. They're like, nope, you can't do that either.
Perfect example about what we were talking about earlier when we said once they take something away, they never give it back. Why aren't you allowed to have water? Because
water.
Because somebody tried to sneak a liquid explosive on the airplane, and ever since then, the rest of us can't have liquids on the airplane. I'm shocked that we're allowed to wear underwear since there was an underwear bomber. But that's case in point. The liquids, that wasn't an initial thing, and then some jackhole tried to pull something off with liquids disguised as something else, and ever since then we've all lost our rights to be able to carry liquid on the airplane. I guess it's not really
and which is now funny, because now airlines are going to stop. Most of them are stopping their beverage service because of COVID-19. And so now, what are you supposed to do on a 6-hour flight to LA? They're not going to have.
I guess the convenience store inside of security is going to make out like a bandit.
And probably double their prices even more.
Right. I'm glad I don't have to fly with the airlines anymore. It kills me when I do. Man, it's a different world, I'll tell you.
Yes, it is.
You want to get some of these questions and see if we can't spiral off into some totally new rants with them?
Oh, there's some rabbit holes there we'll find. Let's jump into them. I'm not scared.
All right, from Boyd Craven, and this is kind of an inside joke. I'm not sure if you're privy to it or not, but he says, "Any truth to the rumors that you are a robot?" And
that I am.
I know that doesn't make any sense to you, but on the very first interview, he asked somebody if they were a robot, and then they started asking it's silly, inside joke.
It's I will neither confirm nor deny that I'm part cyborg.
Okay, let's see. From Joe Trott. Oh wait, he was just replying on a comment. Real comment. Paul Hendrickson. You know Paul, right? Do you?
Yeah.
You know him?
Yeah.
Bullet Man.
Bullet Man.
Yeah. That was the round I used yesterday for that thing I told you about earlier this morning, and it was very effective.
Very nice.
Very effective. Yeah, the brains were rattled, clearly.
I bet they were rattled.
Yeah.
Probably just
It was flump. There was nothing there. Yeah. And didn't know it was coming. So anyway, before PETA gets on me, Paul says, are there any characters in the Going Home series you wish you had expanded on before moving on, or that you killed off too soon?
Well, according to the readers, I'm really in the shit for killing off Jeff. I didn't realize everybody liked him so much. So I kind of I wish I'd have kept Jeff around, maybe. I didn't realize he's such a fan favorite. And then, like, the Dalton character, everybody wants to know more about him. Everybody's so confused about Dalton. And, but, everybody has to remember, like, the first 2 books I wrote, at the time, I didn't even know I was writing a book. I thought I was writing a story online. And I didn't realize I was creating a damn universe I was going to be, confined to. So, yeah, if I'd have known what I was up to back then, probably would have done a few things different, but maybe not so much,
Is Dalton the Alan Kay character?
That is Alan Kay's character, Dalton, yeah. Yeah. And I have people email me all the time, too. They're like, man, he's like, I spent, 23 years in SF, and I've known a lot of guys, but I don't know anybody like this dude, who'd you base him off of? And I'm like, this is my buddy Alan. He's over there. It's a real guy. You can talk to him if you want to. If you can get him to talk to you, which is hard. Because he don't like people. Less than I do, even. So.
See, that's why we all get along.
Exactly. Why we're such good friends. We haven't seen each other in years.
Yeah. Right. Because then we'd have to, like, interact and stuff.
Yeah, play like we like each other. Now I can just, when I'm done, I can hit end and fucking Steve Bird and walk out of my office,
Or not even wait till we're done.
Yeah.
Total freedom.
If Hort was here, we'd just take his hat away from him.
Oh, yeah. You tell that story.
That is one of the all-time classics that I've retold a few times. I wish I'd hung around for the bridge climbing and shit. No, I didn't. No,
drawbridges, as a matter of fact.
Climbing open fucking drawbridges. Well, so we go. We're at this horrible, horrible little prepper event in Jacksonville. Awful thing. And we decided to go to dinner, me, Steve, and Hort. And we go to Ruth's Chris. And there was some big event going on there. And we walked in like we looked like, and we get to the hostesses, they take us out to the table and we sit down and they're like, and gentlemen, we're going to have to ask you to remove your hats. And, whatever. I took my hat off. I'm sure my hair looked like shit. Steve's did. Hort, his hair didn't look so bad. It was bright. When he took his head off, it was bright. But
never seen sunlight before.
Yeah, never seen sunlight. And it took his voice. His voice, Steve or Franklin Horton's voice is in his hat.
His soul. I'm pretty sure his soul exists within his hat.
You could he looked like a kid. Sorry, Franklin, I love you, but you did look like a kid that someone took your blankie.
He was sitting there like...
He was not happy about it.
Yeah, everybody carrying on.
Like when me and you're laughing, we're like raising hell, and they're asking us to be quiet. And
we had to apologize to the couples next to us.
Yeah, we did. I almost felt bad, but the shit was funny. I couldn't help it.
And it's like as soon as he walked out, he puts the hat back on, and he was Franklin again.
Yeah, but like he goes to order, and he like points at the menu.
Right. Like you're to Denny's at 2 a.m. and you're so drunk you can't pronounce it. You gotta point at the cheeseburger.
Just that one, the picture, that one.
That one, but not with that. No.
Yeah, but scrape that shit off of it. But yeah, we get to the door and Hort puts his hat back on, and it was like he came back to life.
Yeah. And for anybody that missed the name, Franklin Horton is who we're talking about.
Yeah, Franklin Horton. I'm sorry. So yeah, he puts his hat on. It's like he just came back to life, and it was just like, holy shit, you're back. Where you been this whole time? We had dinner. You missed it. It was great. Yeah. So. and
he was like, what's going on? How'd I get here?
Yeah.
But
don't worry. You'll realize it. You check your credit card statement. You'll see. Don't worry.
And you think about that after the fact, and how many times have you seen him without a hat?
Oh, it's like seeing me without a hat. It's like seeing Bigfoot.
And he's got hair. It's not like he's a bald guy trying to not pretend like he's not bald.
No, he's got hair. It's up there. It's just somebody saw me without a hat one day, and they were just like staring at me like, I've never seen you without a hat before. And I was like, well, it's not like I'm not wearing pants. I mean, calm down. It's just a hat.
Seeing you without a beard's the part that would creep me out. I see the older pictures of you where you just had like my size of a beard. It's like, who's that?
Yeah. Well, it's like last night I was standing in front of the mirror and Mel said something about the beard. I'm like, you realize I can never shave this off now, like ever.
Unless you're trying to hide and blend in, then nobody would have any idea who you were.
No, they wouldn't. Yeah. I might be able to get away with it then. But yeah. Everybody, because people talk about the Angery American brand. I'm like, it's not me, it's the beard. It's not even me, it's this damn thing. So I'm slave to it too.
You should sell the beards. You should sell the hat that has the beard attached to it. So the beard could be like a chin strap that holds the hat on,
Oh, shit.
That would be
That's
cool.
funny. I'm actually working on something right now, and it's funny you said that, because I am working on something right now that'll be kind of... It goes along with my whole new... I'm changing the...
Angrier American.
Yeah. We're fixing to become a little more militant, angry American. Yes, yeah. We're gonna. You'll see. It's coming soon.
Yep, I won't let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
Andrea Reynolds says, this one's coming. Where's the next book, please? I'm jonesing for a dose of Sarge.
It's right here in this computer. It's actually right over there in that computer. It's sitting right there. I was working on it.
If you wouldn't wasted time with me, you might get an extra chapter done, right?
Well, I'm working on Western Resolve, which is a spinoff. I'm working on Book 11. I'm trying to do the manual with me and Alan Kay. I spend about 3 hours a day doing the intelligence report that I send out.
Got to feed the squirrels.
No, thank God there's no squirrels right now. Although when I'm done talking to you, I am going to the barn to shoot rats. That's just entertainment. But and the TV show. I mean, all this stuff takes time. It all gobbles up some time every day, and it's hard to keep up with everything. The amount of garbage that I read every day, because I stay very on top of what's happening. Especially the stuff that doesn't make mainstream media. Those are the things I'm always looking for, because I'm always curious what's really happening that they don't want us to know about. So, but it's coming, guys, and I know it's been forever. Trust me. My income stream reflects the fact it's been a long time. but there's some books coming. So I am actually getting ready to re-release Ramblin' Man. So those of you that never got to read that inside Kindle Worlds, that will probably be live tomorrow or the next day, and you'll have a new little read you can pick up. It'll be cheap.
Still going to be novella sized, or?
Yeah, it's still. I'm just going to re-release it's just as it was, because I didn't realize that the copyright reverted back to me. I actually had to call Conklin and ask him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you can do whatever the hell you want with that thing."
Yeah, just technically they own specific characters and specific things to the story. So if you wrote a Kindle Worlds novella and it had his characters in it, if you just went and changed their names, you'd be good.
Oh, I had no crossover. There was zero crossover in mine, and I did it for a reason. And so for 5 years, I've been sitting on this thing. I've been selling it, because a lot of people liked it that read it at the time. But it'll come out, and you'll be able to pick it up pretty cheap. So
awesome.
Kind of a peace offering for me being so long putting anything out.
I've got 2 Kindle Worlds novellas I need to do something with, but you know me.
Hell yeah. Put them back out there, man.
One of them, though, was a prequel to Conkley's Jakarta Pandemic. So are you familiar with Jakarta Pandemic?
Well, yeah, because that's what mine was set in. Well, mine was the Perseid collapse, but it's all kind of the same.
Yeah, it all spun off of that. So, the Manson character in the first book? Yeah. I got to create where he came from. I wrote I wrote a prequel, and this was in coordination with Steven. I wrote a prequel that my story created who he was, and it ended when he pulled into the neighborhood.
Okay.
So I actually made you like him. And Conkley read it. He was like, I can't believe you made me root for Mason or Manson. You know? So when he gets there and he shows up and he just starts, you know, doing all the stuff that he did, you kind of feel why he was that way. But there's not a whole lot I can do with that, because since it's a prequel to Conkley's book, it kind of is completely consumed by his world.
Yeah. So. Hey, Steve. Good pause. I gotta piss, dude.
Okay.
Edit that out. I need a minute. My eyes are floating, and I'm gonna be in a puddle. So just play some elevator music or something for a minute. Woo. Oh, that'll change your life right there.
I'm gonna have to actually find some elevator music to put in the video there.
Yeah, you need like the Price is Right music or whatever. There was do. No, that's Jeopardy. Do.
Is that AR on the wall behind you got a backwards magazine?
No. So if people ask about this, it's not a backwards mag. This is Tactical Walls brand stuff. And my buddy... Shit, that didn't sound good. Yep, that wasn't. Here's a mess. Mel's not even here. There's a mess in the office. Usually my wife's the one here spilling shit all over the floor. My buddy Ben made a couple extra stands for supporting rifles. And he made that one. So there's this one, which the rifle will sit on properly. But I'm not going to face it that way because some jackass will look at the serial
somebody
number.
will comment, yeah.
Yeah, somebody will see your serial number. Yeah, what are you going to do about it? So fucking what? But yeah, it would sit on this one properly. But if I put this one on there properly, he didn't get the angle right, and it does that.
Oh.
So, and this is a heavy ass rifle. This thing, you know, it's a 20-inch barrel, and it's a FN heavy barrel. It's kind of my AT&T version of for my AR, you know, so they can reach out.
I love the 20-inch barrels. You know, I
see, but no, even there, it's a little weird. But the only reason I face them that way is so I don't have to hear people tell me about. They can see my serial number. It's like I could give a shit.
They'd be zooming in.
What's that?
Because they'd be zooming in. I got
Angery they will.
Serial number.
Oh, that's just like this map over here. I know there's gonna be some clowns zooming in trying to see what's on that map. You know, good luck, bastards. You know. No, I have to eat this garbage. I can't even use real Copenhagen no more. Wait, I have an open one here, don't I? Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
What went to the floor? Your spit cup?
No, thank God. No, I don't use cups.
You swallow it like a man.
No, I don't do that either. That gives you bleeding ulcers, which I'm dealing with now. It was my Yeti cup that I had kombucha in.
Oh.
And it's, it's made a touch of a mess on my floor, but it's okay. It's fermented. What the hell? How bad can it be?
Gotta make your floor healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, Robert Tyler, looks like he kind of posed this one to both of us. He said, of the things you both write about and do, what is one that when you learned it changed the way you looked at everything else?
Oh, I remember reading this question, and I actually put some thought into this one. And for me, and it's really not even a prepping thing, it was more of a lifestyle change. And it was that comment I made earlier about that dichotomy that when I had that realization of what our lives are designed to be, not by us, but by the system in which we're forced to exist in. That, you know, go to school, get a job, spend 20, 30, 40 years doing something, you know, living for 2 days a week, 2 weeks a year. That I had that profound little epiphany back in the 90s, I guess it was. And I was, from then on, looking for a way out of it. And I'm not out of it now. I'm more out of it than a lot of people. I just believe that our lives are meant for bigger things than working for some company that doesn't give a shit about us, doesn't pay us what our time is really worth. Why can't we be out pursuing the things we want to do? But instead we're compelled to participate in this cycle of debt and debt, I mean debt with the lowercase and capital case, or capital D's, the federal debts, the personal debts, all the stuff that you're expected to do and be involved in and compelled to a degree. So I had that little epiphany, and I started looking for ways to find anywhere I could take a piece back. And I don't care how big that piece was. I was going to take that piece back. And so, like for you, Steve, you're raising cattle. You guys garden, right?
Yep. You
guys put on a garden. So you're raising some of your own food. You're growing some of your own food. You're
creating my own electricity.
You're creating your own electricity. You're taking steps to take it back. And that's what more of us need to be doing. Yeah, it's easier to go to the store and buy it or whatever, or
and cheaper in a lot of cases.
And less aggravation, because I swear to God, if that cow gets out of that fence again, I'm shooting that heifer, which will suck because then the processor won't take her and I'll have to do it myself. And
cow's that's messy, too big.
Well, I can only imagine. Well, I've done 6 hogs in a day before by myself.
I just imagine.
And I've got a tractor.
I just imagine reaching up and pulling those guts down from that big, huge cow. Because I've done sheep and everything else myself. But I think of the size of a cow versus sheep. I'm like, man, that.
Well, yeah. I mean, what I always pictured was when you're butchering a cow is when you first unzip them, all those stomachs and stuff that are going to come out. There's going to have to be a lot of that, because that's what a cow mostly is. So there's going to be a lot of that, and then you're going to have to reach way up in there to get those lungs and the fuel pump and stuff out of it. Which, see, this kind of talk bothers a lot of people. They don't like talking about this. Like I'm going to reach up in this heifer and cut her heart and lungs out and throw them in a bucket. But they have no problem going to the grocery store and buying a piece of finely wrapped Nigerian or Brazilian steak under plastic and styrofoam. Right. At least I know where my meat comes from, and I actively participate in its acquisition, processing, cooking, and the best part, eating it. Sometimes the best part is actually shooting the bastard.
The current cow we're eating was named Sugar.
Sugar?
She's so sweet.
And mean bastard.
I've had people give me a hard time. I don't know how you could name an animal you're going to eat, and it's like, well, just because I'm going to eat it don't mean I got to mistreat it. My animals are happy. Yeah. They live good lives. We treat them great. Mm-hmm. They have a great life until it's over. That's a hell of a lot better.
And they don't even see it coming.
Yeah, it's a hell of a lot better than a factory farm scenario.
They don't
standing in line, going into this mass slaughtering.
Watching everybody in front of them get butchered and get killed. I did have some pigs the day that there was the mass murdering of pigs here, because I just snapped. I worked all day. I did, dude. I snapped. And so I started shooting hogs, and I shot 3 of them. And I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute! I better slow down here. I got a lot of work ahead of me." And I let the other 3 wander around the yard. And the only one that almost had feelings, would have made me feel bad, was the last one. And it was this little sow. And I was walking towards her, and I pulled my pistol out of the holster. And she looked at me and she just laid down. And she was laying there looking up at me. I'm like, what, you think I give a shit? And she went to freezer camp with her friends. But
wouldn't want to separate them. That'd be cruel.
What's that?
No, I don't want to separate them.
No, I'm not a mean guy. No. And they didn't feel it. They didn't see it. She saw it. That one saw it. And I did shoot one other pig one time that wouldn't look down, because my drill was always, whenever I go to butcher animals, I'll give it some feed. In a friendly manner. I don't approach them hostile. Right. Give them some feed. Wait, let them eat a little bit. Let them get their head down where they're not paying attention, and then, drop the hammer and it's over.
That's the way I would do sheep. Give them a little pile of corn. They're like, "Yay, corn!" Gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Game over. Yeah. Their last memory was, "Yay!"
They'd get a cup of sweet feed. They'd be like, "Yay, sweet feed!" They'd go to eating. Well, I had one that I dropped the sweet feed on the ground, and he just kept looking at me, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, eat the sweet feed. Any other day, you'd eat the sweet feed. Why are you looking at me? And I'm sitting there thinking, because he's like, something's up. This shit, you're giving me sweet feed for no reason. And he wouldn't look away. And
why isn't everybody else getting sweet feed?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. and I was like, well, I guess it's like Burger King. You can have it your way. And I just shot him right between the eyes. So.
Luckily, they don't know what guns are.
No, they don't. My dog does. Woo! My dog does.
Oh, yeah. Well,
he's not a fan.
Yeah, dogs have got a little bit more thought processing going on up there.
My dog, Merle, and I'm feeling bad for him. He's like, hell, Mel got him when we lived in North Carolina, so that would have been like 2012. So, yeah, he's like 8 years old now, and he's starting to have problems with his hips and stuff. And Merle doesn't like guns. I don't give a shit if it's a squirt gun. Merle ain't having it. He wants in the house. He's a big baby. He don't like thunder either, of course. But guns, just let him see a gun. Like if he's out in the yard bugging us and like we're having a cookout and he's like going around and like begging from people, like all I got to do is draw my pistol and be like, "Hey, Merle," and he'll look at me, see that gun. He's smoked, gone, history. He won't be back till everybody else eats.
What did you do to that poor dog to give it that complex?
Shot a gun around him one time.
You know, my Rotties, I've got 2 Rottweilers, and one of them in particular almost loves guns. And if I'm shooting a semi-auto and it's ejecting brass, he'll be standing next to me trying to catch the brass out of the air. I was like, it's a game.
See how cool? That's a cool. Why can't I have a dog like that? No, mine see guns. They run like hell. I've got one that doesn't care, but I also think, and I know this isn't a politically correct term, but I think he's retarded. Okay, the dog sits on the front steps like a person does. His ass is on one step. His feet are on the one below it. He sits like a person on their front stairs, and yeah, he's not right. He's touched in the head. I have no doubt, but. Anyway,
touched. There's the word. There's the politically correct way to say it.
Bless his heart. He's touched. Yeah.
Joe Trout's got a good question. He's always got good questions.
Bring it, Joe.
Joe says, "You've met me. Obviously, I'm not one of the guys anyone should want on his 4-man QRF team. What are the top 3 skills, other than medical, that you believe can make a non-tactical person particularly useful in a shit-hit-the-fan group?"
Well, one I'm going to say is just a general knowledge. Like if you're mechanically inclined, even if you can't do the work, but you know how to tell people to do work, awesome. Like gardening, same way. Just because you can't get out there and hoe the fields, if you tell others how to do it, perfect. But the absolute number one, hands down, thing that someone who's not the most physically able can do is become the comms guy. Become a comm guy. Preppers, 90% of the time, undervalue communications. And I don't mean buy some Baofeng radios and make sure everybody has one. Because, yes, they are better than nothing. I guess if I'm drowning, I'd rather have one of them little donuts my 3-year-olds used to swim in as opposed to nothing. But that's about what the Baofeng is.
I'd rather have a high point than no gun at all if I'm getting attacked, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have a damn musket if that's what it came to. But learn your radios, become a ham operator, get some equipment, establish radio protocols for your team. Nick Meacher's a great resource for that. Look him up on Facebook. He's really involved in stuff here. He and I are doing some things together. And Nick, if you see this, no, I'm not ignoring you, brother. I'm just swamped. I'll try to call you tomorrow. But communications, and it's not, I don't necessarily mean on the tactical level, like we're out walking patrols and stuff and we need comms. Yeah, you need them for that too. But this HF radio I have over here, and there's 3 radios sitting over here right now. And there's 5 up there, and there's some more floating around here. I mean, I have one mounted in my truck. They're a source of intelligence. So far more can be gained from your radios by listening than by ever saying a word. So I would get schooled up on comms, Joe, learn how to use ham radio, get a good scanner, learn how to use that. There was one more I was going to say too. Scanners, radio, something else. Because it's more about listening, because you can gain a lot of intelligence. For instance, like I keep a Uniden handheld portable scanner in part of my kit because it has a neat little feature on it where it will lock on to the strongest signal around it. So let's just say that you do have some folks out on patrol. And this, I think a lot of preppers put way too much thought into the patrolling thing. I don't think it's going to be what you guys envision. Kitted up and sneaking through the woods playing G.I. Joe. It's not going to work that way. Not for a while, and then when it does, it'll be a very deadly business. But one of the members of the patrol would have that scanner on with an earbud, so that what it will do is it'll be scanning all your GMRS, FMRS, MERS, all those frequencies, even the VHF, UHF spectrums. And if a signal comes in hot to your radio, that means it's close to you. You'll be able to lock on to that and listen. Now, if you're on a 3-man patrol and you can hear those guys saying, yeah, I see 3 of them and they're moving this direction, they're talking about you. The other thing it allows you to do is you start building now a logbook at this time, this date, on this frequency, traffic, and a brief note of what it was about. And it'll let you start building a picture, kind of what's going on around you, because most people aren't hams. Most people don't know how to use their equipment properly. The radio I just showed you over there is the one that I use for my group, and they're encrypted. Now, we can't run that over ham towers, but we can run that over our private FCC licensed repeater. And we have one. We're a nonprofit. And so we run encrypted comms over our nice little repeater, and nobody can tell what we're talking about. We can send text messages. I can send video, or not videos, but images. Our radios are rather expensive. I can hot mic a radio. So if I have a patrol out and somebody's missing or something, I can actually hot mic that radio. They're GPS enabled. I can find that radio. I can disable that radio. Communications are a big thing, and I think they're wholly underestimated. Oh, shortwave radio. That was the other thing I was going to say. I knew there was another thing I wanted to mention. And where the hell did it go? It was just here. Oh, yeah. So right here, this is just a little crane, shortwave. This is a valuable piece of intelligence gathering equipment for you, particularly at night. Shortwave, you can hear broadcasts from all over the world. And this is another piece of kit that I think everybody should have. And I have a couple different kinds of shortwaves. Very, very valuable. You can hear news from all over the world. Some of you may not understand, but a lot of stuff's broadcast in English, and it's just another way of gathering intelligence. So get some radios and get schooled up, Joe.
There you go, Joe. Got you a good answer. All right, from Jeff Moats. Chris, I placed your story along with one from David Crawford and the one from Pat Frank in my top 3 PA novels. I read yours last, but each spurred me to reevaluate my situation. Thanks. I know this is supposed to be a question, so how does it make you feel knowing you've impacted so many people's lives?
Well, first I want to say
sorry that you've harmed so many people.
Yeah. Well, first, it's cool to be in the company of Pat Frank and David Crawford. Crawford's a great guy. Lights Out was an awesome story. Like everybody else, I probably read that thing online, and had the PDF, But and I say this, and I mean it when I say it. It's a humbling thing when I get these messages from people, and I'm getting them every day right now. I haven't even looked at Messenger. I bet it's chock-a-block full of stuff at the moment, because I don't look at Facebook every day, folks. If you message me and I don't reply immediately, I don't live on Facebook. Yeah, I bet you there's 24 messages right there on that one, and there's other ones. But it's humbling for someone to contact you and say that you had such a big impact on their life, that it changed the way they live their life or the way they view life. And hearing people say that they're better prepared and they're making it through this little current ordeal easier or better. Or people have contacted me that, my house burned down, but because I was prepared and had positioned stuff in other places, we weren't completely destitute, or after a hurricane, I read your books. It made me think. I started doing some stuff, and the hurricane came through, and we managed better than the neighbors, and I was helping people around me. And that's what I like is preppers. We were prepping back before it was cool. Right now, you're seeing articles pop up all over the place. The New York Times even did one talking good stuff about preppers. But we were doing it before this happened, and that's something to consider. It took something the level of this anemic little virus that the world's panicking over to get everybody to realize they should be a little bit prepared. And what I want people to do, if I've motivated you to be prepared, and that truly to me is humbling to hear when I hear that, because I can tell them I'm just a redneck in the wood who writes books. Steve can relate; he's a hillbilly doing the same thing. But
barely read.
I said, I can write reading, but I can't read writing. That's why I don't read books. But
that's why editors are there.
That's right. That's why I pay my editor $35 an hour, because it's either that or he's going to be drunk. I don't know. I'm going to drive him to drinking. But help share that and spread that. When the COVID thing and the quarantines are all first being talked about, there's all kinds of people talking about, I'm going to shut my gate and anybody comes near me, I'm going to shoot them some bitches. Don't be that guy. In times of crisis, preppers us. Those of us that are prepared are an asset to our communities. We can be an asset to them. I tried to be an asset to this community before the whole virus thing took off. As some of you may remember, I started sending out some cryptic little messages. And I was surprised at the level of heat that I took for it. That kind of made me feel bad for a minute, but then I realized I didn't give a shit, and I stopped feeling bad because I knew what I was telling was correct. And some folks listened, and as a result, they didn't suffer as bad. I was at a grocery store with my wife and my buddy, and we had just loaded up like 4 carts. And sorry, my wife texted me. I'm texting her back. Loading them into the bed of my truck, and this truck circles the parking lot. Guy's looking at me, a big, nice, like Chevy 3500 deal, and he gets out of his truck and starts walking towards the store. He's looking at me. He's like, well, I guess if you're doing this, I need to be doing this. And I was like, yeah. I said, I just have an idea. He's like, oh, I know who you are. But he ran in there and started loading up on groceries too. So it's nice to know that I help like that it helps prepare folks for, because it's not always the end of the world. It could be the end of your world. I've had people that, man, because I read your books and I got prepared, I've been laid off for this last 6 months, but we haven't had to buy groceries yet.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the thing. I mean, if you prepare for a zombie apocalypse and you lose your job, it's still going to pay off, because all the food stores that you had and the way to produce your own stuff, it's still going to help you.
It's all going to help you.
And if you've got 500 rolls of toilet paper stored in your barn, just in case, and then you get laid off, well, there's one more thing you don't have to buy right now.
Exactly.
So no matter what it is.
Or during this crisis where you couldn't get toilet paper, we haven't had to buy any yet. I haven't even looked for it, so I don't know if our stores have it or not. But we haven't had to buy any. I just keep going to the shop and dragging another.
I think the toilet paper supplies are back now. It's the meat thing now that they're scaring us about meat.
Well, and I told folks that was coming too. So, and it's not just because of the virus. There's other skullduggery afoot in the background of that. In February, the Ag Secretary approved the importation of African and Brazilian beef. So that beef comes in already processed, frozen, right, on containers. But yet, our local domestic ranchers can't find anywhere to process their cattle and their livestock. We're smothering chickens by the thousands in chicken houses. We're killing off hogs and burying them in holes.
Yeah. Do you want to throw your tinfoil hat on for a minute? My neighbor is a chicken farmer, and he does 68,000 like every 38 days or something like that. And
good Lord,
of course, the chicken and pork these days are almost completely contract farms now. Yep. Those very few big ag companies they control it all, and they own the product. So yep. When my neighbor Roger has. Roger Atkins, for those of you that have read Breaking the Beast too, when he's got 68,000 chickens in his chicken houses, he doesn't own any of them. He's not in operational control of any of them. And per his contract, if he's told to depopulate them, he's obligated to do so or be in violation of the contract. It's their property. It's not his. So, and it's the same with pigs. I've seen a lot of people lashing out against farmers lately, and trashing them. How dare they? Well, they should have prepared better and planned better. And it's not. They're following orders. They don't want to destroy merchandise. If it was theirs and they owned it, they wouldn't want to destroy merchandise that they worked hard to create. That's foolishness. They're following orders of very well politically connected campaign donors.
Oh yes, multinationals in a lot of cases.
So there's a lot more to it than just a couple guys got sick at a chicken plant.
Yep, much more.
And okay, W.J. Lundy. This is a good one, and Franklin already answered it for you. What is your biggest regret? And Franklin says, allowing himself to be photographed with me and Stephen Bird.
Yeah, I commented back on that one.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Biggest regret?
Besides that one.
Well, I mean, that's tough on the top. That's why I'm having to think about it. Maybe not moving out of Florida sooner. Because I have a love-hate relationship with this state, and I've made enough money where I could have moved anywhere I really wanted to. I don't mean like in luxury housing, folks. All right, I'm not talking about that. But
you'll be out here in America.
Well, I was looking at Tennessee, and I actually have a friend that just bought 120 acres up there, and he's giving me full access to it. And he's like, "If you want 10 or 20 acres of it, I'll sell it to you. I don't care." So, I'm looking. I'm going to be going to North Georgia here later this week, and I might ride up and look at that land while I'm up there. But yeah, as far as regrets, I don't really have too many, maybe I guess if I had one, it would be, I wish that when I was writing Going Home, I would have taken that more serious, because I didn't. To me, it was just something I was doing for shits and giggles and fun. And, I could have probably made that book better. Well, I know it could have. But I was just doing it as entertainment for me. I was having fun. So, had I known it was going to lead to all this, yeah, I'd have probably done that a little different.
Hey, but you never know. If you weren't being yourself, maybe it wouldn't have worked out the way it did.
Exactly.
You can't coulda, shoulda, woulda. You could have died in a car wreck on the way to that new job that you should have took.
Yep.
So.
Well, and I don't regret, though, writing it the way I did on the forum, because, God, that was so much fun. And the book wouldn't have been what it is without that, because there was so much feedback. Constant and immediate, and hundreds and hundreds of comments, and so I always knew what the people reading the story were thinking. They were always, this is fixing to happen, that's going to happen, I can't wait for that, and I'd be like, man, no, that shit happening. Nope, left turn, and I just catch them off guard. It was easy to do because I knew where they were going in their minds.
It's like you had your own focus group.
Yeah, I did, and they were very focused. Yeah, they were. You let me skip a day or two, and they were focused as hell. So, but no, it was, I mean, I wish I had more faith in myself at the time, like all the people that were reading it and following it did, because they had a lot. And if it wasn't for them, none of this would have happened. So,
Crystal Marie's got an interesting one, and I don't really understand this, so I need to know the answer to this. She said, did you put music at the end of your audiobooks just to mess with the people who forgot there was music in the beginning, to make them search through all their open apps to figure out where the music was coming from?
Well, I have to be honest with you, in that hell, I didn't know there was music there until I saw that question the other day on the thing. I don't listen to the audiobooks. I'll tell you guys a secret. I don't read or listen to my own books. Won't do it. I write them.
And walk
one pass, too. I don't do second passes. I don't do rewrites. I'm a one-and-done writer, because what I've learned is that if I try to go back and do a rewrite, because I've taught the guys, I'm on my third rewrite. And I was like, what the hell? I'll be on my third book by now. Is I'll mess it up. Generally, my first idea, that instinctual reaction to what's happening in the scene, is the best one for me. Because I don't outline the stuff. I don't plan them out even. I generally have milestones in mind for when I'm writing what I want these big things to happen. But hell, how I get there, I don't know. I have no idea.
Sounds like me. So, I just watch a movie in my head and write down what I see.
Yeah, that's what I say. I follow these people around and try to write faster than Sarge can talk and bitch. So that's about how it goes.
Chris Van Geysen, sorry if I mispronounced that. Do you have a new series coming out anytime soon? Although I do miss Sarge and the boys.
Well, yeah, like I said, Book 11's coming, and then there'll be Western Resolve, which will be turned into a series. Well, we have it slated right now for 3. I don't know how much farther we'll go with that, but that's coming out. I also have a very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Shit, you'd think you wouldn't have no idea I write books for a living.
I can't even remember my characters' names half the time.
Yeah, that's why I got a character list. I've got a big idea for something, and I pitched it to my audiobook publishers, and when I told them what I had in mind, they were like super excited. Like they really wanted this. Now this would be a 2-book thing, and only 2 books. But from what the audiobook publisher told me, no one's ever done anything like this before, ever. And so that's a project that I'm going to tackle soon. But that one will probably take me quite some time to make happen. But I'm going to get Book 11 done first in Western Resolve, and obviously the manual's coming out too. And then I'm going to look into doing this other one. And it's not necessarily a post-apocalyptic fiction kind of a story, although it is very timely, and it might be considered more of like political action thriller, sort of deep state kind of thing, using some very real world stuff that people probably are not aware of actually happens. So, but yeah, that one will be coming down the pipe soon. It's an ambitious project. That's what I was looking for. It's very ambitious. If I can actually pull this off.
Awesome. David Hatcher asks, when does Charlie get revenge? Charlie's Requiem or Cry Havoc 2?
There's another Charlie book in the offing. Walt's wrapping up a zombie book he's doing right now. And then Cry Havoc is on the slate. I know I keep bumping it, but probably when I finish these 3 and while I'm outlining the 2-book thing, because I'm going to have to outline that because I just simply won't be able to write it unless I do it. I'll try to stick the sequel to Cry Havoc in there. So, awesome. Yeah.
Christian Foster, I was wondering about something in Book 2, Surviving Home. It was about hooking up a radio to a computer to send text messages. I wanted more info about this. I love this series. That sounds kind of like what you were talking about before.
Yeah, that's very possible. There's a number of ways you can do it. Some, a lot of the radios, like I got a Yaesu here that has a serial out, and there's a dongle you can get and connect to it. There's a free program you can download, and you can pick a frequency that if you're, you and your buddies, you guys all pick a frequency and on HF, and I can literally sit and text back and forth. It's perfectly legal to do as long as you don't encrypt it. But nobody will be able to read it unless they have the same program on the exact same frequency at the same moment. Then they'd be able to see it. But the cool thing about it is you can set that up and just leave it up and running. And like your friends can send you a message via that over the radio. And when you walk by, you can look and be like, oh, shit, okay, so what do you say? All right, you read the message and you can reply and you can keep going about your day. And it also has other potential uses that are less than legal at the moment, but when the time comes, who's going to give a shit? So,
what's the rule of law these days, anyway? Right?
Well, yeah. We'll get into that later.
Joanne Epperson. This is
good Lord, Joanne.
Multi-part question here.
Yeah, she's a hoot.
Do you ever sleep? Do you juggle your day-to-day family stuff and writing, and then add all the other things? How do you juggle your day-to-day family stuff and then writing and then all the other things you do? Are you a vampire? I haven't seen you sparkle yet. What? Why have vampires all of a sudden turned into these sparkly little dainty things when they used to rip your jugular out and drink your blood?
Yeah, but that was what they were in our day. But then when they started making them for young teens, the young adult genre, where they all had to fall in love and shit all the time. That's where the sparkly vampire came from. Now I work a lot. It's 11:45, and Steve and I both are still up doing stuff. I've got stuff up on both my computer monitors here. I was working until we did this.
How our day went today. We've been trying to get together on this forever, and called you this morning, so we can either do it right now or late tonight because I got stuff to do in the middle of the day when the sun's out. And
I was like, no, I got stuff to do too, so let's aim for tonight. When
everybody else goes to bed
today, I'll wrap it up. And two, sometimes I go through I have bouts of insomnia and I don't care what I take. Valium, Ambien and Valium. Just I'll be wide awake. Like the other night, I took an Ambien, and then about 2:30 in the morning, I took a Valium, hoping I could go to sleep for a little while. Finally, I gave up at 4 a.m., got up, stayed up, went to Gainesville, shot video up there, survival dispatch, spent the day there, came home, had a barbecue for friends, and then went to bed at like 3 a.m. or something. Some days it's just like that for me. I just not tired. But then there's other days where I'm going to have to sleep today because that's just the way it works out.
Yeah.
So
I wash my Benadryl down with NyQuil, and that does it for me.
I wash my Benadryl down with NyQuil.
That's not a joke either, man. You do that.
I don't doubt it. Hey, man.
Now the next
you realize
day,
get that Z-Quil, man. Get that Z-Quil. That stuff will put you to sleep. That all it is liquid Benadryl. But
yeah.
But I gotta say, I was a fan of Ambien. When my doctor first gave me that, I thought I'd found something, and then it let me down one day, and I was like, "Damn it! Still again, some more, even shit." So, but I'm not too worried about it. I figure, when you're dead, you get plenty of sleep. No one's ever gonna be laying on a deathbed and be like, "Damn it! I wish I'd have slept more." So,
yeah. Or damn it! I wish I'd have worked harder at that job.
Yeah. If I could only got 5 more years at IBM.
Dean Jazzo, because of where I live, all the houses around here have wells and septic tanks. That's a good thing. Yep. Very easy to keep them habitable if you can keep them warm. That seemed to be a key struggle in books, especially early on. Can you go off-grid water and poop-wise down yonder? Oh, down yonder in Florida, I guess.
Yeah, I'm on a well and septic here, so
that sand is probably a perfect effluent filter.
Oh, it is. It's like in my part of the state, I live on the Central Florida Ridge. Most people don't know that it has one, but it does. It's 90 feet above sea level, and that's where I live. And so water doesn't stand on the ground here where I live. I mean,
your inches per hour? Do you know?
Oh, I don't even know, but it's absurd. I'll tell you that. I mean, hurricanes can come through, where it can rain, for 2 days, 2.5 days nonstop, just buckets. And you might go out and there'd be a puddle there, but you can go out an hour later and it's gone. I mean, there's nowhere on my property. And hell, I've got holes dug back here. Even my range is dug into the ground some. And we went out and cut about, 18 inches off the range area and used that to make the berms. And water doesn't stand there. So, I mean, I'm on a very, very well-drained section of the state. So yeah.
I'm the opposite of that. I can't drill a post hole without having a well. And it's not a joke either. I've got a pond that's spring-fed, and it's, full of fish year-round. No matter whether you're drought or not, it's still full. It just comes right out of the ground.
Nice.
And our flow rate is like 40 inches an hour, I think, which is good. And like for septic systems and stuff, and but the thing is, it's not probably 10 feet down when you hit a big seam of sandstone, so the water kind of rapidly gets to that point and then backs up in the soil. And since the water moves so fast in the soil, you can't dig a hole without it filling up because the water can't keep going down. So it ends up finding that path of least resistance, which is the hole you just backhoed out. So when I was doing my my solar array, I had to do 3 6-foot deep, and it ended up being about 2 foot by 3 foot, 6 foot deep holes for the concrete ballast. And you get halfway down, and you're shoveling out water. So that's good in the apocalypse because I could dig me one of them old-fashioned little stone wells with the little bucket and the rope. I could have one of them done before lunchtime.
Yeah, give her a day to settle out and just drink what's on the top of it.
But when you're trying to do dirt work, it's awful.
Here I dropped a line down my well one time, and I think I hit water at 43 inches. So that's kind of where the water levels is.
Well, that's where the ocean is. It's like 40 inches below you.
Yeah, but
Lisa Akers says, "Is your beard real?" It's attached
my
to the
spirit
hat.
animal.
We went over that earlier. It's attached to the hat.
That's why you don't see me without a hat. It's attached to the hat. And it's my spirit animal. So
there you go. And Donald Ramos. Oh, another beard one. How much would it take to shave the beard?
1 million. Wait, this is 2020, right? $1 billion.
Give it a month, and that won't be worth anything with all
that won't be worth
quantitative easing. And Franklin followed that up with how much Jaeger? ?
Oh well, because of the recent
because
ulcer
of the COVID
issue.
Yeah.
Oh no, I went to the liquor store and spent $800 leading up to the COVID thing. I knew it was coming, and I was like, I'm not gonna have to do this sober. But because of the ulcer stuff I'm going through right now, I've cut out the drinking, so it's just sweet tea for now.
Mm-hmm. Sweet tea and White Claw.
But the Jaeger's in the fridge back there, or the freezer back there. So.
You notice he didn't deny the White Claw.
I wouldn't drink that. I'm not a chick.
Brian does. Where do prepper babies come from? Bunker practice, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, I was joking with somebody the other day. I said, I can't wait for about 14 years from now, 13 and a half, and we'll have all these... they'll
talk about the great abortion rate of 2020?
Oh, well, the quarantines that will be, that'll, we've had Gen Xers and all this other shit. They'll be the quarantines.
Oh, yeah. You damn quarantines. You didn't learn anything from all that Netflix binge watching.
Yeah, yep.
It's not a true apocalypse if you can still binge watch streaming TV shows.
And Netflix says their average customer right now is watching 8 hours of TV a day.
Oh, cow. I watch about none of it. I watch YouTube videos, and that's literally all I watch anymore. Because there's people that think like me that actually create content that I want to see, but there's no corporate boardroom somewhere creating content that Steve Bird wants to watch.
Me neither, which is why I'm having to make my TV show myself, because Hollywood, it ain't gonna happen over there. So
do a little Trump hating in it, man. They'll have you produced in no time.
Oh yeah, they would.
Sell your soul.
Quick, fast, in a hurry.
Sherry Sanders Parks. Do you wash your Crocs in the washing machine?
I put that Morgan carried Crocs in the book. They make great camp shoes. I don't care what anybody says. If
you're going to get out of your tent and piss in the middle of the night, you don't want to have to pull your lace-up boots on and all that crap just to walk through the wet grass, drag your laces behind and get them wet just to take a piss. Those Crocs would be great for that.
Or if you've been hiking all day in boots, you want to get out of those things and get in something comfortable. They're great.
Let them swampy feet dry out.
Yeah, and I wore them in North Carolina up there because I lived on a really nice river, and I spent a lot of time in the river, and those damn rocks were sharp, so I wore Crocs there. And when I set my gold sluice up and was working the river, that's what I did, because it was easy to walk in and out of the water with them. So I don't even own a pair of Crocs now. I mean, everybody says that. Everybody's talking about the Crocs. Yeah, whatever. Next.
It's the little things.
It is. The stuff they remember. Holy shit.
That was it, except I've got a question. That's when are you going to come out here when next time Franklin comes out? I'm going to get everybody to come out here and shoot and blow stuff up and make all my neighbors really wonder about me like I already
Well,
do.
Set it up. Hell, I'll come. I could use a getaway. I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah, we need to get on with that before it gets too hot.
We need to bring a camera crew.
Well, we can finally do that book. Or we just release it straight to audiobook and just self-narrate right there at the campfire.
Yeah, we could do that because that would be a lot of fun. Although your editing software would have hell with all the gunfire. Because our gunfights would be like they would be real gun. I mean, we could have real ones.
Probably have a hard time meeting ACX's noise floor minimum requirements. But
yeah, I think we'd blow right through the top of it.
But no, that'd be a good time. Yeah. So whenever this stupid crap's over and everybody can get out and about again. I know Franklin's in a communist state, so he's not allowed out of his house.
Well, and it ain't stopped me from doing anything I want to do. If I feel like going somewhere, I get in my truck and go. I don't care. I've never paid attention to it. If I get stopped or ticketed or someone wants to write me some penalty for it, we'll hash it out in court. And I'm willing to take it to the mat too. So, I've got lawyers that are ready to back it.
When Paul Hendrickson was coming out here that time, when Franklin came out and the two of them camped with me in the back, he brought probably like 50 Class 3 weapons. It was a whole full-size pickup truck with a hard tonneau cover, just stacked.
Yep. Holy shit.
Class 3 weapons and ammo. Everything was Class 3. And he was, worried about getting pulled over by the cops. I was like, yeah, man, that would suck because they'd want to come out here and shoot with us, and we don't want to share our ammo with them.
Yeah, we ain't got that much ammo.
That's how our cops think around here. They'd be like, dude, can I come? It wouldn't be.
Yeah.
How'd you get? What are you doing with this? But we love living in the middle of nowhere. On our courthouse, on our county courthouse, there's a sign on the front door that says "Guns are welcome on this premises."
Not in Florida, boy. They, no kind of government facility whatsoever of any variety. I mean, you can't even walk into the damn, the tag office with one. You cannot carry here. They finally had to relent a few years ago because of a court suit, filed against the state to allow us to carry in state parks because they're like, the law used to read no state grounds. And they were like, well, the parks belong to the people of the state of Florida. You can't deny them their rights. Which then, by extension, that should mean every government building in the state of Florida should be able to because they belong to me too.
Yep.
But they don't see it that way.
Nope.
And, if politicians are so afraid, and judges and all these other people are so afraid of an armed citizenry, maybe they should just kind of start doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, stop being assholes to all of them and violating their rights and maybe taking those oaths they take seriously, and they wouldn't have to live in fear.
Well, just remember, Chris, the kind of people... Let's look at if you lived in an HOA, which I know you're not crazy enough to do.
Shit, no.
If you live in an HOA, is it the person that wants to leave everybody else the hell alone that runs for HOA president, or is it the guy that wants to control every house in the neighborhood? That's the problem, and that's what happens in all the rest of government. Is that the people that go into the business of controlling other people don't think like us.
No, and since I know you're a student of history like I am, and this may be some facts a lot of folks aren't aware of. When this country was first founded, especially for like the first, I know the first 4 elections for certain, and it might have been as many as like the first 8. Nobody ran for office. No one tossed their hat in the ring saying they wanted to be president or vice president. And it was decided differently back then. So back in the early days of this country, there was an election for president, and whoever got the most votes won. Whoever got the second most votes was made vice president. There wasn't this joint ticket garbage.
Could you imagine Trump and Hillary serving together right now?
Oh, my God. Well, actually, I would request a live cam be put in like everywhere they go. Like, can we get a live stream of this? Someone just follow them around. They were considered gentlemen of the day. They didn't even campaign for themselves. They literally sat on the sidelines. And of course, there were proxies that went out there and argued for both sides. But the nominees were nominated by parties, and there were 2 at the time, just like there are today. We won't get into that convoluted mess because it's not how people think they worked. But the party would nominate their guys, and their guys would just, either accept or decline. Some did decline, or they would accept it, and then they just sat back and waited to see how the election turned out. They didn't even go out and campaign for themselves. Now, contrast that against today's circus of an election.
Mm-hmm. It's who can spend the most. And it isn't just the presidency, but look at the Senate. Look at how the Senate was first designed to function. The reason the Senate is there to represent the states, and the House is there to represent just people, right? Well, the Senate used to be, the senator was basically appointed by the state legislature. So the senator was there to represent the state. But now, since they changed that to a popular vote within the state type thing, it kind of dilutes what the separations of the 2 houses were supposed to be. One was supposed to represent the people, and one was supposed to represent the state. And now they both sort of represent the people, but not really, because now money from California goes to pay for the election in Texas. Money from New York goes to pay for the senator's election in Florida. So now instead of they don't even represent the people of the state anymore. Now they represent the people funding the campaigns, and it's totally diluted and taken away from what the Senate was supposed to be in the first place.
And even the House, George Washington has had the greatest quote of all time, in my opinion. And it's one that I think every politician should be forced to stand up and read aloud in both the House and the Senate. It's a very short line, but every one of them should be made to stand up in front of camera and read it. And it's this: service to your country should be a burden.
Yep.
Think of that. It should be a burden. It shouldn't be like Nancy Pelosi, who comes into office and she's worth a six-figure number, and 30-odd years later, she's worth $107 million.
For no explainable reason.
As Speaker of the House, her salary is a little north of $300,000 a year. She hasn't been Speaker of the House the entire time, but even if she had, that still doesn't explain the numbers. It doesn't add up. So how has she made her money? How is any politician? Why are the politicians all these rich guys, but they want to get up there and talk about champions of the poor and this and that?
Look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden was in office for how many decades, and he's filthy rich. But where did his money come from? Well, China gave his son $1.2 billion. I'm pretty sure Joe probably got some of that, right?
Oh yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah, because he went on TV and said that some bitch got fired.
Well, that was the money he stole. That was the Ukraine fleecing. He fleeced China.
That was Ukraine fleecing. Oh yeah, but no, he goes on TV and says he got some bitch fired, and then they try to blame it on Trump and want to impeach him for the same thing. Not even the same thing. Even less than that.
You're not allowed to
do what we do. He just was withholding funds.
He had a comment.
Yeah. Well, that's right out of the left playbook. And when I say left, guys, I'm not talking about Democrats, because there's very few Democrats left in this country.
Left is a big picture. It involves a whole lot more than the people that put a D in front of their title.
Yeah, and they shouldn't even be. A lot of them should be ashamed. Those D's should be ashamed of some of those people that put D's in front of their names. Just like, I'm not a Republican because they don't represent me.
So you're just like me. I tell people I'm not a Republican. I'm an anti-Democrat.
Yeah, I'm anti-leftist. See, there's certain things the Democratic Party, when you get down to blue blood level Democrats, there's a lot of things I agree with them on.
The ones who were left behind.
Yeah, the ones who are left behind. I agree with those guys. I have common ground with them. But this progressive, leftist, revisionist history, pandering party that's out there now, that just like Pelosi's wanting more trillions of dollars to hand out to people. Right. It's absurd. And
how they operate. Of course, she's not even coming back to Washington to actually be able to accomplish anything. But they throw that stuff out there because people start mentally spending that. Oh, I want my $2,000 a month. Yeah, man, give it to me. So, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna buy that. So everybody mentally spends it. They go, okay, it's my money. When you send the check.
Yep.
And then 4,000 pages, later in this monstrosity of a bill, there's going to be all kinds of god-awful stuff in there. And then, then you put that in front of Trump, and Trump's like, well, if I sign this, my constitutionalist, conservative base will absolutely hate me for this. If I don't sign it, all those people waiting to spend those checks are going to hate me for this. So she's baiting people with the promises of that money, and she'll win either way. She wins when Trump refuses to sign it, because then Trump will let you have your money, or she wins when he's forced to sign something he would have never signed before because it's full of all kinds of trash.
Yep, and and it just goes back to the old little turn of phrase there that, if pigs could vote, they would always vote for the guy that feeds them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same guy that's going to slaughter him.
It was Franklin, when they first walked out of the Constitutional Convention, they had hammered it all down. It was finally done. Franklin says, although we set on this venture with modest intentions, I fear someday there will be a party of people who will vote to give more to their prince so that he will give more to them in return, and then there will be a war between the taxed and the takers.
Yep.
Sound familiar?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep. Because that one came out right after the woman. She ran up to him, asked him what kind of government they had.
Yep.
And he answered to her, "A republic, if you can keep it."
Yep.
We have not been good stewards of what has been left to us.
No, not
at all.
Close. Well, hey man, we just crossed the 2-hour mark, and that usually scares people to death when they're scrolling.
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Usually, people are like, "Oh, I ain't gonna take my kind of time," but hey, you can watch a Hollywood movie full of crap for 2 hours. You could listen to all this.
Hell yeah! There's way more reality right here than there is in any friggin' movie Hollywood puts out.
And just a disclaimer, when I said I'm anti-Democrat, I was talking about the politicians, not the voters.
Yes.
I'm not against any American citizen. I'm talking specifically about partisan politics, the machine that is partisan politics.
He's talking about career politicians.
Yep.
You guys, I already told you what I thought about that. So.
And the people pulling their strings. That whole machine. And your average citizen that, whether I fall for something some politician says or they do, that's not who I'm talking about. It's the machine.
Yep.
But
we're all just cogs in the machine. So
yep, very replaceable cogs.
Very much so.
Well, man, it's been a blast. This'll at YouTube's upload rate, this should be up by say 2023 June-ish. I don't know when the last time you uploaded a YouTube video was, but it seems like it's like 10 minutes for every minute. Yeah,
I got a dude that handles it for me, so I don't have to mess with it. Thankfully,
it takes forever.
He just does. Yeah, he does it for a living. He just handles my stuff. I don't have to touch it, and so I like it because I don't have time to be a video editor. I can barely get these books turned out and all the other stuff I'm doing. So
yeah, I'll smash these out after the interview, get all the stuff added and edited, and then I'll start the upload, and I'll go to bed, and I'll come out here the next day, and it'll be like at 63%. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Jesus.
Yeah, YouTube is slow, but
damn.
Anyway,
you ought to get an internet connection and stop using carrier pigeons or something.
Well, hey, my modem still works. I pay $10 a month for that landline. I need to use it. Besides, there's less government spying in the modems than there is that interweb thing.
Yeah, them internets.
Yeah. I don't need to be caught in no damn net. I'm gonna use it their telephone, man.
Oh God, yeah, no, they're not listening to that. There's no way they're listening to that. What cracks me up is when people go, "You have a landline?" And I go, "Yeah, yeah, I have a landline." Whatever.
I have a landline, but if you understood what my cell signal was like, you'd totally understand. I gotta stand in a magic spot and hold one leg up just right, just for my phone to connect. So.
Oh, it's the same way out here for me. I have to use Wi-Fi calling if I'm in my office because it just won't happen otherwise.
Hey, the farther you are from those little comforts of civilization, that's a key.
The better you're living, in my opinion.
That's a key indicator about you're doing it right.
Yes, sir. Amen, brother. Well, yeah, this has been great, Steve. Man, look forward to not watching it because I'm not gonna. I'll be honest with you, I won't watch it. I hate watching myself do this shit. I don't like hearing my own voice.
It is kind of annoying.
Mel's always like, she'll be in bed. She's like, "Why don't you read me your book?" I'm like, "Nope." She's like, "I want you to read it to me." I'm like, "You read it, lazy ass. I'm not going to read it. You read it. I wrote the damn thing. At least you can do is read it. I'm not going to read it. I don't want to read it. I don't want to read the words. I don't want to see it."
Yep.
So.
Well, folks, thanks for watching. Thanks for suffering through the rants. We hope somehow it might have possibly helped with something, but
give you some more shit to be mad about, nothing else.
Right. Hey,
we're good with that.
Being mad is what we do in 2020, right?
That's right. Yeah, I am offended. So.
All right, folks. Well, we'll see you later.
Next time. Hang on.
That's a beauty.